Hi, my name is Stephanie. Growing up, I was a really shy little girl. I was raised in a single-parent home in Langley. At first, it was just my mom, my older brother, and I, and then eventually the three of us moved in with my grandparents. Every Sunday, we would go to church with my grandparents. I can't say I really understood what they were talking about, but I remember that it was a nice feeling being there. I remember sitting crisscross applesauce in Sunday school, seeing my mom and my grandma get baptized, and the painting of Jesus that my grandpa painted hanging on the wall of the auditorium. From the beginning, my relationship with my dad was pretty broken. I was a kid at the time, so I had no real grasp of what was going on. I later found out that he had been using drugs. He had abused my mom, one of my siblings, and some others in his life. I stopped seeing him when I was about 12 years old. Last I heard, he was living in a shelter somewhere in Alberta, but now I'm not sure where he is or if he's still alive. Going to school, I didn't love my life. I just remember feeling sad and pretty alone. I'm mixed, so I had super curly hair that didn't really look like the other girls. I got bullied and felt like an outcast. But I grew up and got more social. At my high school, the good kids were the wealthier ones with the happier backgrounds, so I found myself naturally gravitate towards the crowd who had rougher upbringings like myself. I remember feeling like everyone in that crowd was just sad. Partying for so many of them turned into experimenting with drugs and then to harder drugs. A lot of them didn't make it out of that scene alive. One of the worst days that I can remember happened when a close friend of mine overdosed and almost didn't make it. It was a wake-up call for me. I'd never been into drugs, but after that moment, I had a really hard time being around the party scene in general. I quit drinking, spent more time alone, but this time I had a space. My school had an amazing art program with some very supportive teachers. So from then on, I spent as much time as I could in the art room. I'd eat lunch with my teachers in there. They spoke into my talent, encouraging me to reach for more with my life. Looking back now, I can see how God gave me art as a lifeline. The day after I graduated high school, I started my tattoo apprenticeship. That's led me to multiple cities, clients, friends, and studios over the years, and it's amazing that I get to do what I love now full-time. It was also through tattooing that I met my now boyfriend, Mitchell. It was almost exactly a year ago today when Mitchell's brother and sister-in-law invited us to join them for a Southside Easter service. I hadn't been to church since I was little, but the moment I heard the invitation, my heart felt like it was saying yes, of course. Mitchell and I both lived in Vancouver at the time, but we made the trip in from the city on Easter Sunday last year. Honestly, from the moment it started, it was very overwhelming for me in the most amazing way. I remember being so quiet and still, just taking everything in. I then started uncontrollably bawling my eyes out. Deep in my soul, I could feel God saying, "Welcome home." In Pastor Mike's message, he explained Easter and why we celebrate. He said, Jesus looked at me, and he looked at you, and he said, "You can't reach heaven, so I'm going to bring heaven to you." It was a message that I really needed to hear. Then and there, I recommitted my life to God, that faith that had started in me all those years ago in Sunday school. I'm not a super early morning person, but from that weekend on, we started driving in for church every Sunday. Over this last year, God has spoken to me through this church over and over again. Sermons addressing wounds from our earthly fathers that so many people like me carry. Messages about forgiveness, bitterness, and how broken people break people. Messages about having the courage to step into being the you were born to be. In December, Mitchell and I decided to move back to Chilliwack, so coming to church with the family is a lot easier now. Early this year, I heard about an upcoming baptism Sunday and thought, this is definitely for me. On February 11th, we got baptized along with 86 other people. It was a day that I will never forget as a room full of people cheered us on. For me, it felt like finally, publicly dedicating my life to God and living life His way. Day after day, God has shown me that I can trust Him. He's shown me how to forgive, He's shown me that I'm completely and totally enough as I am, and that I don't have to show up as anyone but myself. He's brought me to a place in my life where I feel surrounded by people who love me. He's healing my heart and showing me the way to love people well. It's crazy what can happen through a simple invite. I had no idea that I'd be sitting here today, telling this story 365 days ago. So much was waiting for me on the other side of that invitation to an Easter service, and I'm so, so thankful. I can't wait for what's next.